Welcome to Dateline Schools, a presentation of the St. Clair County Regional Educational Service Agency with your host, Terry Harrington.
Welcome to Dateline Schools. Autism is among the fastest growing disabilities for our school-age children across the nation and also here in St. Clair County. And April is National Autism Awareness Month, so autism is our topic on this edition of Dateline Schools. And my guests include Lisa Azar, who works here at St. Clair County RESA and working with autistic children throughout St. Clair County. And also joining us is Jerry Keller, who is the new local director of Autism Speaks. But before we begin our conversation with Lisa and Jerry, let's tune in to this edition of Education Update.
Thank you, Terry. A video about a mobility program at Woodland School is causing quite a stir. The video was created by RESA's Educational Technology Department to promote Woodland's use of MOVE, which stands for Mobility Opportunities via Education. Woodland has been a model site for the program since 2005. State Superintendent Michael Flanagan saw MOVE in action when he visited Woodland last September and said he thought it would be a benefit to all ISDs and RESAs to use a similar program. The video will help show the organization how to MOVE is benefiting students in St. Clair County. It is also available to the public via the RESA's YouTube channel and the Woodlands page on the RESA website. There's good news on higher education front, as data compiled by the National Student Clearinghouse shows more St. Clair County students are going to college. The jump of 14% more high school students enrolling in college from 2008 to 2011 coincides with the establishment of Know How to Go initiative. Know How to Go was established by RESA and other community organizations in an effort to encourage students to continue their education past high school. The initiative has helped achieve this goal by using such methods as presentations, test prep scores, workshops, college visits, and counselors designed solely to help students get to college. A Poor Year in Northern High School senior was the grand prize winner of the Intel Science Talent Search held this month in Washington, D.C. Nithin Tuma won the $100,000 prize. He's the first Michigan student to win this prestigious award. Tuma's project involves the study of the progression of breast cancer and leukemia. The head judge of the competition said Tuma's work could lead to better targeted and less toxic therapies for cancer patients. Tuma, who lives in Fort Gratiot, is #1 in his class at Poor Year Northern. He's also an award-winning varsity tennis player, the leading scorer on the Varsity Quiz Bowl team, and co-founder of Captain of the Robotics team. The St. Clair County Association of School Boards is celebrating 22 years of giving toward the education of prospective teachers. The association's annual award presentation is April 15th at the St. Clair County Community College Fine Arts Theater. 9 local high school seniors who plan to pursue a career of education will be presented with $700 scholarship toward their college education. Students are selected from the scholarships by committees in their schools. Teachers and students identified as influencing them to pursue education are also honored, as well as outstanding school board members. And finally, it's never too early to think about the end of school year. For those who want to get a jump on their summer vacation plans, the final day for the students in most districts this year falls during the week of Monday, June 11th. That's it for this edition of Education Update. I'm Chris Troy. Terry Harrington in Dateline Schools returns in a moment.
My life is full of statistics. Thing is, I could have dropped out of school and become one myself, but I didn't, because I had people that believed in me. Here's another statistic. 7,000 students drop out every school day. That's 1 every 26 seconds. It's time that students know that we believe in them.
Inspire a student and share your message of support at boostup.org.
This is one amazing truffula tree. Can you imagine a place where these grow everywhere? Yes, it's called the forest, a magical place to enjoy with your family. Ooh. So discover the forest and explore all the wonder that's there. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
I'm lucky.
Let me help you with that.
I get to do something I love. It has nothing to do with touchdowns or titles.
Everybody bring it in.
I get to play a part in the life of someone just starting out.
How many of you think homework is just as important as teamwork?
I help keep kids in school,
Good.
and that's the name of the game.
My name is LaDainian Tomlinson. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United.
Welcome home, man.
Welcome back to Dateline Schools. Nationally, April is Autism Awareness Month, and there's a lot of news regarding autism, not just across the country, but here in St. Clair County as well. So on this edition of Dateline Schools, we've invited Lisa Azar from RESA and also Jerry Keller from Autism Speaks to bring us up to date on autism. And Lisa, it seems like it's been in the news an awful lot lately. So when you refer to autism, what are you referring to? What do people need to know about autism?
Well, autism is a neurological disorder that has impairments in the socializing area, in the behavior area, educational, and the communication areas.
How big of an issue is autism across the country?
It's pretty huge. It's in the past couple decades, it's been risen, I believe 10 to 17% annually.
Okay, so that's pretty significant when you spread it out over, the population of the country, right?
Yes.
What about here in St. Clair County? How do we kind of stack up?
We have about over 200 students that are eligible for autism in the special education area.
Mm-hmm. Has that number been growing quite a bit
It's
each year?
growing, and that's only identified.
Okay.
There's many students out there that may not be identified that still have it.
Any research that's showing why the growth, or is it just more awareness and the diagnosis is becoming a little finer?
I believe it's a combination of better diagnosis. It is rising. I think scientists are puzzled themselves why there is such a big rise. So they're still researching it and kind of looking at a genetic component, but also in those cases that don't have the genetic component, other environmental factors that may be the cause.
Mm-hmm. Now, is this something that a child is born with, or is it something that they develop, or?
Yes, they're
all
born
the above.
with it. They're born with it.
Is it? Okay. What are some of the characteristics of an autistic child?
Social skill impairment, motor skill impairment, communication impairment. You may have a child that can speak but has the impairment with social speech. You may have a child on the other end of the spectrum that doesn't have any communication skills at all. Repetitive behaviors like flapping the hands or the arms. I could go on and on.
So quite a wide range, right? So
right.
Now, can a child have more than one characteristic, or is it pretty much each individual is limited?
It's a combination of characteristics. We all actually have certain characteristics that we could say, oh, I have a bit of autism, but you put quite a few together, and then you have a child or individual as an adult that has autism. And you may have a child that is severely impaired. You also, on the other side, may have a child that is considered high functioning, that can be mainstreamed fully and rub elbows with their peers in the classroom, general ed classroom.
Now you're the mother of 3 children, but 2 have been diagnosed with autism syndrome. Tell us a little bit about your experience and how that has affected your family relationships and just your children growing up, and what are they doing today?
Well, it does affect the family, not just mine. Stress level is very high. You have to work at skills daily. You have to be consistent. It may put your typically developed child on the back burner. Having 2, actually having 3 children and 2 on the spectrum, and being a special mom, it's whoever screams the loudest that gets the most attention, or whoever needs the most. What is the issue that is more important that weighs it out? Families cope with it in different ways. Of course, you get hit with it and the shock, and then you may have the anger or denial. If you can accept it faster and actually find out that your child has autism early, the early intervention is where you can grab that hope, and you just, like I said, have to work with it. My children that have autism are 17 and 19. The oldest has Asperger's syndrome. He attends college and will be getting his associate's degree in a couple of months in business administration. The other child with autism is in a cognitively impaired room, but pulled out where his interests are in a public school. So different ends of the spectrum. My oldest can communicate very well, but it wasn't always that way. We had to work hard at it, and a lot of people wondered why I had him in speech therapy if he had speech like a professor. And again, he just didn't have that social speech. He would talk at you, not with you. My 17-year-old has communication, but not like us. I started speaking with him or teaching him how to speak on his own through visual aids or pictures, so he could ask for his needs to be met rather than screaming or flailing on the floor. Those little fits or meltdowns you may see a child out in public. There's always a reason for it, and that's their way of communication. Depending on stress levels in their lives, I know with my middle child, that's your classical autism. If he has more anxiety, some of his speech is replaced with humming. So a lot of times the stress level in their lives causes them to appear to have more deficits.
So quite the challenge you've had in your family, and quite a challenge with the boys.
Yes.
So, but it's good to see that they're being successful. Is that typical for most students, or?
As long as you work at it daily, you're consistent. You can't become a hermit. It's very easy with kids that have behavior problems. Sometimes you feel like you're ridiculed out in public. You want to stay home. However, our children with autism don't generalize. So when they learn a skill in one area, they can't carry that over into another area. An example of that would be when my children were young, they had to learn how to stand in line at the library to check out those books that they wanted. Yeah, I'm thinking, wow, my children have learned to stand in line. You go to McDonald's, they have not learned how to stand in line there.
Sure.
So that has been a great challenge there. You have to teach them every aspect in every environment. So it can be very tiring on families.
Can only imagine. There's been a lot of effort locally recently to bring awareness to autism. Tell us what's going on here.
Well, first I want to thank you very much for having us on today. Lisa and I have been on the turkey circuit or the chicken circuit. We've been doing the rotaries and so on. And this is another opportunity for us to have an awareness. Autism, we opened a local office here in St. Clair County because the gentleman that I worked for 19 years, he went to Autism Speaks, and he asked me if I wouldn't follow and open an office in St. Clair County to have a starter office to see how it would go to run a smaller office, and if it works well, then we're going to move it to Grand Rapids and have a bigger office. One of the components that we must have is awareness. So we've enlisted the YMCA and the school system and RESA and St. Clair County Mental Health and the ARC, and we built ourselves a very nice, we feel, committee structure so that we can go out and build awareness and have a social program for people in the area who have dealt with this for probably many years, right, Lisa? More than's been talked about. But one of the components that we want to do, we want to bring awareness to the fact that 1 in 110 children have autism, and 1 in 70 boys have autism. So we'd like that awareness so that we can, yes, raise some money, but also have support groups to help these families deal with the problems that they have every day.
Now, is the awareness too also to kind of educate the community so they know how to react and interact with children that they may come in contact with autism?
Autism Speaks, really, that may be part of it, but our office job and as a national, we want to bring awareness that autism is here and growing. It's people like Lisa and the community mental health and the RESA group that deal with that problem every day that really brings it to a point of that we've got to find, like any other disorder, we need to find the causes, the wherewithal. Terry, there are lots of autism groups. I've only been there 4.5 months. And I'm finding there's an autism group almost around the corner. And they do wonderful stuff. They raise money and send kids to camp, or they'll do some other things for the children. What we're interested in as a national office, we're interested in finding out why, where, and how. So 70% of all the money that we are going to raise, Autism Speaks, goes directly to research. We want to find out why, where, and how these happen. 30% of the money that we raise is going to go for support groups, awareness, and dealing within our community. We are working with a lot of other autism groups. Right now we're involved with Oakland University and OU Cares. We're working with Autism Alliance. There's a few others that we're trying to find out where does everybody belong, because this autism is just kind of exploding in front of people, and we're not too sure why, where, and how. But there's lots of ideas out there, that's for sure.
And my guess, just listening to Lisa talk and a little bit of what you were saying too, Jerry, is the focus a lot is on children. But these children become adults eventually. So that creates a whole new set of things, doesn't it?
It does. If I could just share with you
Sure.
a couple minutes. I've spent 5 years with American Red Cross, and I spent 19 years with the March of Dimes in this community. And I've seen a lot of things. And although terrible, we always were able to work through it. I'd go visit a family who had a premature child, and they were going to be in a wheelchair, or they were have the ear that's bigger or cross-eyed or something, and you leave and you say, but there's hope. As I got going around and meeting these families with children with autism, there was such a deep hurt, and I couldn't quite find the two. They're both big problems. So I asked this lady one day, I said, I'm struggling with why is autism so hard to deal with it, you know. And she said, here's my example. I had a 3.5-year-old boy, normal, hugged me every day, kissed me every day, told me he loved me every day, and my husband and I, we were off on the future. Our life was coming together. She said, I woke up one day, he's never looked at me since, he's never kissed me, never hugged me, never told me he loved me, and he's 18 years old, and we don't know why. It's a disorder that just rips your heart out, and the families, which Lisa can attest to, it's just devastating. All problems are tough, but for some reason autism is a really, really hard, difficult thing to deal with. And in the school systems, it's a whole nother program, because they have 24 kids in the class, and a lot of children want to be mainstream, so they have an autistic, and the teacher has to decide, I have 23 kids that need my attention, but I have this autistic child who belongs in my class. Where and when do I find the time to deal with that? So there's just so many questions that we're trying to answer. But as far as Autism Speaks, we're a national office. We have a local office here. Tom oversees 11 states, and we are going to be building Autism Speaks offices in other parts of the state of Michigan.
What kind of events or things are you doing to bring that awareness here in our community?
Well, one of the things that we've done here locally is the first event we held at the YMCA. Denise Brooks, who runs the Y, was kind enough to open up her facility, and we had an Autism Speaks Day there, and we had over 250 families come. Wow. And we brought in a bounce house, and we brought in lots of things for them to play with, but we also had the agencies that were there so the families could come and find out what RESA does and what mental health does and what the ARC does and what programs are available to them and what kind of support group can they get involved in. We're planning a lot of other different events as well, but we are, one that's kind of neat is we're going to hook up with the YMCA and OU Cares, which is Oakland University, and we're going to do a Train the Trainer, and we're going to be training some people here in Port Huron to work through the YMCA on an OU's care program where kids with autism, children with autism, will learn how to play soccer, how to golf. We have a whole program of that. Also, in the fall, we're holding an educational system for the first responders. If you're a fireman and you go into a home and there's an autistic child, the way that autistic child reacts is going to be completely different than normal children. So we're going to be holding classes for our fire, police, and so on, ambulance attendants and so on how to deal with children with autism. And if they come to an accident, if there's an autistic child involved, they need to know that. So we have stickers that we put on cars and in the home that let you know that there's a child in that home with autism. We have programs for the dentist. Taking a child that is autistic to the dentist can be quite a challenge, or get a haircut. And we have programs for like that we're going to be bringing. Most of those are going to go through the YMCA.
Yeah, I mean, you just brought up a whole range of things that you wouldn't even think of.
Exactly.
Just normal everyday living that you and I go through.
Right. I had an opportunity Christmas Eve or Christmas Day to go to Lisa's house. Her car wasn't running or something, but
broke down Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Great. So I went over to Lisa's house, and I had the opportunity to take one of her sons to something he does almost every day at a certain time, and that's go to McDonald's and get, I don't know what it was, but everybody at McDonald's knew who he was. Sure. But they do something every day at the same time. If nothing, it really kind of blows up in them. So there's just so many different things that, and we're just finding out new things all the time. So how we deal with them and the support system that we want to bring to St. Clair County, that's what we want to do.
Lisa, I know too, because of your work with RESA, you're right in the middle of all of that kind of stuff. What are some of the support systems that we have in the schools already in place, and what do you see we need to be preparing for?
Whoa. Well, we always have to learn new things because these children aren't going away. A few years back, St. Clair County RESA received a grant through START, or Grand Valley State University, which provided intensive training on autism to the educators in our district, all the districts in our county. We do have in every local district a coach or trainer. Parents should seek out those coaches and trainers that have been trained in autism. Those people, I would hope as a parent, would trickle down to our students so they can be mainstreamed, so they can put the supports and the strategies in place so those typically developed students aren't held back because this child with autism is having a meltdown because there might have been something on the paper that didn't belong there. Mm-hmm. So it's all about education. Knowledge is power. So some of those strategies are brought in, like I said, through the coaches and trainers. I feel as a parent that us parents have to be a very important team player also, to go in and have team meetings with the educators that are working with our child or children, because we know them best. Mm-hmm. We may have discovered something in home that may carry over to help that child in the classroom. So believe my opinion is that team meetings are very important, not just for brush fires, but to be more proactive than reactive. And visual supports, because that's what I do. That's a big thing. They learn visually because they may have auditory processing disorder, which they may be hearing the fan running in the ceiling or the kids shuffling the feet, and their brain can't decipher what to hear, or is that the teacher talking to me? So with visuals, it just helps them become more social, and it helps with their independence, especially if there is a schedule that the teacher says verbally, we're going to go to gym, we're going to go to lunch, we're going to have math. That child with autism may have not heard that, but if he sees it or she sees it and has a clear beginning and clear ending, you may have a child rubbing elbows with the typically developed peers that you don't know has a problem.
You're both of your sons are either finished with public school or still in school. How do their classmates react with them, especially once they learn and understand how they function, and so they can have those interactions? How their classmates work with them?
I'm going to be truthful. In elementary, the kids were sponges. They took in, they learned what their classmate had problems in. They may have helped that child. You get into middle school, and they all turn autism. You have the teasing and the bullying going on just because that's what's typical in middle school. You still have those children that help out, take your kid along and say, come on, let's do this in gym now. We're not doing that. High school, they come back to reality. I'll give you an example with my middle child that's in 11th grade. He had the opportunity to go to the junior prom. With the support of his teacher and the parapro. Whatever kids are a junior, they take them to the prom and let them go in. And I asked, well, how is it going? How is he welcomed? Oh, he's just fine. He hasn't sat down yet. Every dance he's up there dancing. The kids in his gym class formed a circle. They all chanted his name, and he was in like Flynn, just like the other kids, and enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
It's not always a bed of roses.
But great example. Jerry, what can we as a community be doing, and how can we get involved with Autism Speaks?
Well, we have an office, and we're downtown Port Huron, and they can call our office, 824-4359. They can give us an email. But what we're going to be doing in the next 6 months to a year is we're going to be putting together a plan with the agencies how, where, and when we can best be a support system. Probably within 5 to 6 months we're going to be looking for volunteers. We're not there yet. We want to make sure that we know what we're doing before we do it. We don't want to go back and redo it. So we're going to take our time. We're going to put together a support group, and then we'll probably be going to the community and asking for their help in some areas and putting on some events and bringing awareness. But if I can, Terry, just real quick, when we were at the YMCA and we had this event with the Y, a lady came upstairs and she was crying, and I went to her and I said, what's the problem? And she said, come with me, and I went with her. She pointed down, and down on the basketball court there were two boys passing the basketball back and forth, and she said to me, that's my son. He has never played with another kid, and he was 7 years old.
Wow.
He has never interacted with other children. Something in that facility, and you would know, but something in that facility made him feel safe enough to do whatever to do that. To her, that was Christmas morning. It was a change of life for her. And I've never seen her since, so I don't know if it went on. But at that moment, to see her child playing with another child was just awesome. If we did nothing else that day, that sufficed.
Is there a website?
There is, autismspeaks.org. It's fabulous. You can go on there. There's a place that says Resource Center. You go to the United States map and you click on Michigan, and it lists all the resources that are in the state of Michigan, not just here, but in the state of Michigan where you can go, and it's a fabulous website.
Great. Lisa Azer, Jerry Keller, thank you so much for sharing the story, and hope to hear more from you and the efforts on autism awareness here in St. Clair County.
Thank you, Terry.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Dateline Schools. Hope to see you again soon.